And there's also a version that tests the condition at the bottom of the loop, and we'll look at both of them here. So let's start by making a working copy of working.c out of the chapter 3 folder. I'll copy that and paste it down here in our working project and open it up in the editor. So we'll start by defining a variable for our while loop. I'll just define an integer x and give it a value of 5. And then we'll say while x is greater than 0, and put in our loop here, and we'll printf x is and %d, new line, comma x, and then we'll decrement x. So we'll go ahead and save this and run it, and we'll see that we have x is 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So let's step through it. First, we initialize x to be equal to 5, and we test if x is greater than 0, and it is that first time, of course. And so we print it out, and we get a 5 there in our output. And then we decrement x, and now x is 4. And we get to the end of the block, and so that takes us back up to the testing condition in the loop at the top of the loop, and it tests again. Now x is 4, so it's still greater than 0. And so we print out the 4, and then the 3, the 2, and when it gets down to 1, it prints out the 1, and it decrements the x, and then the next time it tests, it is no longer greater than 0. It's also common to just test for x like this, while x, because when x hits 0, it becomes false. And so this while x like this is testing x as if it were a Boolean variable. And of course in C, there's no Boolean type. There's just integer types that are tested against 0. So when it's 0, it's false. When it's not 0, it's true. And so you'll often see it tested like this. In C++, there is a Boolean type, but this still works, and this is still a common pattern, even in C++. So we'll save this and we'll run it, and we see that we get exactly the same result. Now there's another version of this loop called do while, and it looks like this. I'm going to put that in my cut buffer, and I'm going to say do and open the bracket and close it down here and say while and put in a semicolon there and get rid of the tab. So do while looks like this. Do print blah, 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 while x. And you'll see, because of the way we're doing our testing here, we'll get exactly the same result. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The difference is that we're doing the test at the end of the loop rather than at the beginning of the loop. And since I'm doing this decrement at the end of the loop anyway, we're really getting exactly the same result. Where we get a difference is like this. I'm going to put it back for a moment the way that it was. I'm just pressing the undo key on my keyboard, which is Command Z on a Mac. It would be Control Z on a PC, and get back to this point. And instead of decrementing the x down here, I'm going to decrement the x in the loop control. This is also a very common construct, and it's actually even more common probably to see it done this way than the other way. We're going to get a different result though, because we're actually decrementing it before we do the printf. And so our results will start at 4 and go through 1 rather than starting at 5 the way that it does now, because first time through it starts out at 5 and we decrement it before we even test it. And so when I run this, we get 4, 3, 2, 1. So the decrement operator here being before the x means that the decrement happens before you test the value, before you get the result of the expression. If I put the decrement operator after the x, then it'll evaluate x first and then decrement it. And now what we'll get is 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So I'll save this and I'll run it. And now we get 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Now, if I were to take this and put this at the end with a do while like that, so now we have do, printf, and we have the condition with the decrement. Let's try it first with the prefix decrement, and let's see if we can figure out what we're going to get. We'll start out with a 5, and we'll get all the way down to 1, but we won't get the 0. There we go, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, if I take that and make it a post decrement, now we'll get the 0, and it'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So you see you get different results. So the while loop is a fundamental control in C. The while loop tests the condition at the top of the loop, and do while tests the condition at the bottom of the loop. Do while is used less frequently, but it's still very important to understand both of them. Now let's delete the working